It looked, it looked for a while as if the civil liberties agenda would be quite a big part of the modern Conservative Party, didn't it? I mean, when your man was trying to become leader and subsequently, but the party leadership seems to have dropped it down the running order.
No, I mean,
I think because is it because it's worried about?
No, it's not. It's because, as Iain said, the economy is now the big topic. Every MP, everyone involved in politics will tell you that when they go to any party political function, someone will come up to them and say, "Why haven't you said something about this?" And you'll be able to say, "Well, actually, last week, so and so gave a speech about it." But the fact is, there is really only one topic on people's minds at the moment, and that is the economy. So David Cameron could make 17 speeches about civil liberties and one on the economy, and it's probably the one on the economy that will get reported. But obviously, we've been very strong in our opposition to ID cards. It's a very fundamental issue for Conservatives because we do believe in freedom and civil liberties, and there is no point in fighting the threat of extremism by bringing in extremist policies yourself to counter it.
Yeah.
Just on what you said about if David Cameron makes 17 speeches, the Conservatives have a real problem in that the media are not interested, frankly, in the Conservative Party unless David Cameron is involved in some event or making a speech. Ed can make 20 speeches a week, but frankly the media aren't going to cover Ed, even though he thinks up some wonderful ways of getting covered sometimes. And that is a real issue because you've only got 5 or 6 people in the shadow cabinet who the media will ever report. They're not going to report a junior front bencher. And the same thing happened with Labour in the mid-1990s to an extent. And I think one of the challenges that they've got over the next year is to create the impression that there is a close-knit team, which actually there is. I mean, those of us who are in politics actually look at the shadow cabinet and think it's probably the most united shadow cabinet there ever was. Compared to Margaret Thatcher's in the late 70s, I mean, it's blissful in its unity. But unfortunately, the media are just obsessed with these sort of 4 or 5 big personalities without looking beyond them.
Can I just ask you, just finally, on the civil liberties point? I mean, do you think that David Davis agenda is going to get some traction? Really, I mean, would you like to see it feature more significantly in the Conservative Party platform? Because there is an appetite out there. Look at journalists like Henry Porter and people who really say that we have reached a critical point now in Britain about surveillance, our civil liberties, and that would be something bold, a big idea the Conservative Party could take on.
It was a brave idea for the Conservatives to take it on because if you look at the opinion polls, the electorate aren't necessarily in tune with it. Although the percentages in favour of identity cards has come down, there is still, I think, a slight majority in favour of ID cards. So it was actually a brave thing for the Conservatives to adopt this agenda. I hope it won't be dropped. I don't think it will be. I must admit I was slightly suspicious at the appointment of Chris Grayling as Shadow Home Secretary. I like him a lot, but I wouldn't say that his agenda was identical to David Davis's on that. But if you look at the profile that David Davis has had since he ridiculously resigned his seat, he is still putting forward that point of view and very successfully. I mean, he's still one of the most high-profile Conservatives to appear on the media.
Could I just say on that it strikes me as very important that when David Davis did have his moment of madness, the leadership of the Conservative Party were not distressed at his disappearance from the front bench. There are strong factions, which Mr. Vaizey knows all about, among the Conservative front bench who are very sceptical of the civil liberties agenda, who are neoconservative supporters of the Iraq war and the Afghan war and all the rest of the anti-terror bogeyman rubbish which we've all got so used to. And they are by no means keen on the civil liberties agenda. I wouldn't trust the Conservative Party on identity cards any further than I can throw it. And there's historical reason for this. In 1951 they promised to abolish the identity card, and then they forgot to do it until Lord Goddard, the Lord Chief Justice, made them. And remember, as I say, that Michael Howard, who is the political godfather of David Cameron, was the man who first produced a green paper on identity cards. So no, I don't think that they have much of an agenda on civil liberties. And what there was is much weaker. I certainly wouldn't invest much hope in them on those grounds.